Part 7. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 61. What a good thing. Guo Hong glanced at her son. To be honest, it wasn't that she looked down on her little son. It was because he was incompetent in literature and martial arts. He had never done any hard work at home since he was a child. Later, he continued to study with the educated youth. Now that he is 21 years old, he failed to pass the college entrance examination, but he is very talkative, and every time he coaxes his family to take care of him willingly. Don't just say that women like to hear sweet words, but men also like to hear them. Guo Hong's father-in-law, the old man who is now paralyzed, was the best to his younger son before he was paralyzed. He gave the most New Year's money every year. I usually stick close to Xieting Zhou whenever I want to eat or drink. Otherwise, how could such a useless young man grow up to be so tall? It's in the next room. Come with me. I guarantee you'll all enjoy it. Xieting Zhou was very mysterious, which made Liang Ernie and her daughter very curious. They didn't know what he was doing, so they could only follow Xieting Zhou to a room next door. A quick look inside the room revealed nothing. Xiechunyu and the two sisters-in-law of Xieting Zhou were also very curious, not knowing what good things their brother was talking about. Then everyone saw that Xieting Zhou dug out the floor tiles directly from the ground, and then exposed the tunnel inside. This thing has been around for many years. It was used to hide from bad guys in the early years, but it is of no use now, and it is not used in normal times. People go down. It's a little dirty inside. Don't come down. Just wait for me above and I'll hand the things up to you. Xieting Zhou said this, and then went down the stairs. The darkness below made Guo Hong unable to think of anything good inside. After Xieting Zhou got down to the cellar, he took out a lighter from his body, turned on the kerosene lamp inside, and then saw a large amount of supplies inside, with English letters on them, which no one today could understand. But Xieting Zhou could understand that this thing was milk powder. Looking at half of the warehouse, which was almost full of milk powder, Xieting Zhou had two heads and one head. He really never expected that, given you a golden finger that goes against the sky, why would you get me these useless milk powders? Xieting Zhou woke up in this body in the morning, and then he knew all the memories in this body. Not only that, he even watched this body's whole life of being taken advantage of. There really was no one who was taken advantage of more than him. The name of the golden finger that Xieting Zhou will recycle this time is the one-click sign-in system. As the name suggests, there is a so-called virtual check-in system. You check in once a day, and it will give you what you want based on where you are sitting at the time and what you want in your heart. Then, if ordinary people had this kind of one-click sign-in system, wouldn't they give me a pile of gold today and buy me a house tomorrow? What happened to the original owner? This person is a stupid love brain. Ever since he got such a golden finger, he not only did not tell his parents that he got such a golden finger, which is understandable, after all, some things cannot be explained. But the problem is that he didn't give the food he got from signing into his family. Your family is so good to you, but you benefited from it. He didn't think about benefiting the family at all, and all he could think about was Liang Yan. This body has had this one-click sign-in system for just over a month, but it turned out that there was nothing else in the cellar, but a lot of milk powder. That's right. You have a good one-click sign-in system, and you obviously get everything when you sign in once, but why do you sign in so much and get so much milk powder every day? You are really obsessed with love. Oh no. There is no head. No brains either. He is just such a man who thinks about having a baby after marrying Liang Yan. The baby needs to drink milk powder and must drink imported milk powder. He has an incredible golden finger and then produces such a lot of milk powder. Haha, Xieting Zhou doesn't even think about it. Know how to describe this man's stupidity. This is really the first time he has seen someone who can use such a heaven-defying golden finger into a stupid golden finger. I directly picked up 2 cans of milk powder with English names printed on them. Fortunately, the country has opened up. Now many imported things from abroad have arrived in China. Their large shopping malls here also have many things printed in English. Otherwise, Xieting Zhou would really, there is no way to explain it. He went up the stairs again, and then handed the things in his hands to his family. Take it. The person above took the 2 cans of milk powder over, and then saw the English words on it, which was really strange. After all, the Xie family had been to shopping malls outside, and they also knew that the outside world was developing rapidly, and there were foreign brands. In the shopping mall, I just don't know what this English thing is. Anyway, it is printed in English, so it must be a good thing. In every era, there will be times when the moon in foreign countries is relatively round, and the country is developing, but foreign countries appear to be much more advanced than the country. In this case, it is understandable that people pursue foreign languages more, not because of worship and looking forward to other countries, but to learn from the progress of other countries and lives. Xieting Zhou walked back and forth several times, silently handing over all the milk powder. Soon, Guo Hong had people outside pile the milk powder into a pile, which took up half of the room. Such a large number of things seemed to be good things, but she didn't know what they were. Guo Hong became very curious when her son climbed up from the cellar. Ting Zhou, what's in these round boxes? Is it malted milk or something? Although I don't understand English, there is a photo of a baby printed on it. You can tell at a glance that it is for people to eat. Malted milk powder was popular in China in the early years, but it was actually sweet milk powder. Milk powder was not so popular. After all, most children were breastfed. For example, the 2 daughters-in-law of the Xie family, Xie Chenyu, and the eldest and second daughter-in-law of the Xie family, both gave birth to breastfed children. How had they ever seen milk powder? They were also very curious and a little surprised by this foreign thing, but no one bothered about where Xieting Zhou got it. Xieting Zhou often followed Xieting Zhou out of the village and went to the city to do things. It was normal for him to bring something with him. Mom, this is the milk powder that foreigners eat. Didn't you watch TV in a big shopping mall before and asked why the men in it are so tall? It's because their children all eat milk powder, which is nutritious, and the girl's health after eating milk powder, well, the skin will become whiter. Xieting Zhou's lie was serious, but all the women present believed it, and their eyes suddenly looked at the milk powder differently. Then this thing is expensive, right? Where did you get it? Guo Hong asked, but she knew that her son was not a lawbreaker and would not commit any crime, so he was just curious. Of course it's expensive. A bottle costs 10 yuan. I wasn't going to a big shopping mall outside. I just happened to meet a foreigner. This foreigner came to our place with something to sell, but he couldn't sell it and lost his money. When he got the tickets, I helped him buy them. He couldn't take them with him, so he gave them to me and I moved them home secretly. Xieting Zhou told a white lie. They had really seen foreigners here, but they were not doing business as Xieting Zhou said. It had just opened up these years, and it was people from Hong Kong and Taiwan who liked to come to the inland to do business. Foreigners are still waiting to see, but it will come soon. That's it. It's true that good people are rewarded. Ting Zhou, you have been smart and lucky since you were a child. The foreigners must have seen that you are good looking and are willing to believe in you, so they gave you things. Guo Hong believed her son's words without hesitation, while Xie Chenyu saw the milk powder in half of the room and reacted immediately. Then there's so much milk powder here, wouldn't it cost hundreds of dollars? The total amount of milk powder here is at least 100 cans. The original owner, who is like a fool, is worried that his future children will have no milk to eat, so he keeps signing in to sign for milk powder. This one-click sign-in system allows you to sign in once a day, and you can have it in a week. One lucky week sign-in, and 1 month later there will be a lucky month sign-in. As a result, the original owner replaced them with milk powder. In fact, milk powder is now available in China, but there are too few to buy, and there are no tickets for milk powder. In addition, the production of milk powder is not high, so how can there be such a thing in a place like a village? I'm sure, I'm lucky, but I'm also afraid that people will see it, so I always take it back secretly. I thought there were too many weddings before, and I'm afraid that the folks from the countryside will come to our house and ask us. Now the wedding is over. We are all alone at home, so we dare to take out things. Look at the amount of milk powder. 1 can be eaten for a month, and 100 cans can be just enough for the children at home to supplement nutrition. Ah Yan, Zhen is so loving and amiable. If you can't eat milk powder, you'll be fair and clean like me. How great. Xie Tingzhou took it as a matter of course, as if this matter was inevitable. Every name he mentioned made the eyes of several women in the family brighten. Xie Yan and Xie Aiai are the children of the eldest brother Xie Weiman and sister-in-law Pan Xingxin. Xie Zhenzhen and Xie Lian are the children of the second brother Xie Guorong. Together with the sister's daughter Xie Kekin, the Xie family is actually a very big family. You know how to think about the children. When the children come back, they will stick to you the most. The children have all been sent out to play. They don't want to cause trouble at home now. Now Guo Hong is really happy when she sees the pile of milk powder her son has made. She can't stop smiling on her face. Who says her son can't do it? Her son is the most capable. Xie Chenyu, Pan Xingxin, and Han Wenwen even narrowed their eyes when they saw Xie Tingzhu's smile. After all, they were really good to Xie Tingzhou. Xie Tingzhou had such a good thing, 10 yuan a can of milk powder, all thinking about their children, so that they were also happy in their hearts. Liang Ernie and Zhang Sulan were also happy for the Xie family, thinking that although Xie Tingzhou was not very good at work, he seemed to have much better luck than ordinary people. Xie Tingzhou said immediately after being praised by his mother. Not only the children at home, but also the elderly can drink this stuff. Ernie and I will send it to my second uncle's house tonight for Grandpa to drink. Grandpa may not be paralyzed after drinking it. There are also parents and father-in-law and mother-in-law, you all have to drink it. If you are healthy in the future, that will make me happy. These words really spoke to a mother's heart. If a child can be filial, the person will not be bad. Guo Hong only felt that having such a son in this life is also a blessing for the family. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 62. Move all these things to the front room. If someone accidentally steals such expensive milk powder, it will be very distressing. You child will be the same. You two brothers can't have such good things. Say, how heavy is this thing? How much does it weigh when you hold it? At this time, she really felt soft-hearted and complained about her children. Guo Hong was very happy to see so much milk powder. Each jar was so big and contained a full 1,000 kilograms, that is, 2 kilograms of milk powder. It's good for children to eat it, and it's good for adults too. The weight of the milk powder dropped in her hand, and Guo Hong still felt a little sorry for her son. Yes, you should call your brother-in-law. Your brother-in-law doesn't say a word no matter what. If he doesn't want to work for you, I'll beat him for you. Xie Chenyu also nodded and picked up a can of milk powder from the ground. It was quite heavy, especially since the can was round. She couldn't hold too many at one time, only 2 at most. She didn't know how her brother held this thing. I got it back. I must be tired anyway. I must make delicious food for my brother at night. Yes, let your brother do such rough work. If you have thin arms and legs, don't do these things. If you encounter something like this in the future, just call your brother. The two sisters-in-law also picked up the milk powder and were telling Xie Tingzhou in every possible way. Liang Ernie and Zhang Sulan knew what pampering meant. Anyway, even if the Liang family doted on Liang Yan, they still asked Liang Yan to do something. He did what he could, but Xie Tingzhou held the milk powder for a while, which made the whole family feel very distressed. Both of them also picked up the milk powder. The 2-pound milk powder cans were not very heavy, and each of them quickly hugged two. Xie Tingzhou also hugged two of them and complained. How can I be so delicate? Besides, this thing is a good thing. It can replenish the health of the children at home, and also nourish the health of grandpa and you. No matter how much you have, I can secretly bring it back. What he said made people feel warmer, and made Liang Ernie and Zhang Sulan understand why the Xie family doted on Xie Tingzhou so much. Why isn't he a good man? As soon as they went out, they met Xie Jianxi and his son who had already gone out to see things off. They also brought Liang Yuxian to see the bedroom. When they saw the wives holding English jars in their hands, they were also stunned. Don't look at it, go and help move things, and move this milk powder to the front yard. This is what our family got from foreigners who met in China. They say that eating it is good for children, and that adults will be strong after eating it. Guo Hong couldn't help but show off to her husband. She had given birth to 4 children in her life, and they were all considerate and obedient. The eldest daughter was a daughter and she was considerate. Her 2 silly sons had also been obedient since childhood. The only one who was disobedient was Xie Tingzhou. Is also a sweet-talking person, but Guo Hong is satisfied anyway. Oh! Foreign milk powder, Xie Jianxi was also surprised. Seeing Xie Tingzhou with a proud face, he couldn't help but glare at his son. You monkey head, you know how to do things secretly behind my back. How can I refuse you when you bring things to the house? You must have suffered a lot by sneaking so many things back by yourself, right? You little guy. How big are you? He still plays mysteriously like a child. The more he talks about it, the more he loves him. After all, as a father, as long as he doesn't like a son, he really doesn't want to say a word to this son. The more he loves him, the more he mumbles. Many. Seeing these milk powder, I feel that my son is promising, but I am also afraid that my son will be tired. Dad, I'm not tired. In fact, I secretly hid some milk powder. I'll take my brothers to get it in a few days. You can move the ones in the house to the front yard. Let's all drink milk powder tomorrow morning, okay? Xie Tingzhou is really completely different from the boys in his early 20s in the village. He smiles triumphantly and there is a smile in his voice, which makes his 2 brothers Xie Weiman and Xie Guorong couldn't help laughing. Even brother-in-law Xie Cheng also smiled the same way. This home seems to have Tingzhou, which is always full of laughter, making people feel that life is heading forward. Liang Yuxian was also very satisfied when he saw his son-in-law. So they all went to the house to move the milk powder. I thought there was a lot of milk powder, but I saw half of the house filled with milk powder. Then they all helped to move towards the locked room in the front yard, where the food was kept at home. There is a lock to prevent thieves. With more people and strength, the milk powder was moved over in a short while. Xie Jianxi was also the captain of the brigade after all. He had seen the world and knew that this milk powder was not cheap. After learning from his wife that it cost 10 yuan a can, he felt that his son was incredible. There are so many here, and they are really considerate. They think of their family members no matter what. After finishing all this, it was already dark. Xie Tingzhou directly wrapped 2 buckets of milk powder in a cloth, plus the meat Liang Ernie brought, and the destination was his second uncle's house to see his grandfather. Dad, I'm leaving. When I come back later, I'll have dinner at my second uncle's house. Xie Tingzhou did not regard his second uncle as an outsider and went out with Liang Ernie. Although Xie Jianxi is the eldest now, he is busy in the village, and there are many people in his family. When Mr. Xie was not paralyzed, he always ate and drank with Mr. Xie. Later, after he became paralyzed, he needed someone to take care of him every day, and that was Xie. The second child is in trouble and serves his father at his knees all day long. The children in his family also have jobs arranged by Xie Jianxi. The family actually has a very good relationship. Xie Tingzhou didn't walk far, about 500 meters, and came directly to the door of a small courtyard and shouted inside. "Second uncle. I'm here." He didn't even need to say his name, a woman came out immediately. This woman was weathered by the years, but she smiled when she saw Xie Tingzhou. "Tingzhou is here, come in quickly, bring your wife with you. Have you eaten? I'm just about to cook, I'll make whatever you want to eat." This is second aunt Xie, who loves Xie Tingzhou the most. She also has 4 sons, but unfortunately they are all silent, can't talk and can only work hard, just like second uncle Xie, so when Tingzhou was a child, he often followed second uncle to play, and was closest to this second aunt. "I haven't eaten yet, second aunt, this is my wife Ernie, we will eat here later, I love everything second aunt makes, the cooking skills of the whole village are not as good as second aunt." Xie Tingzhou is so sweet, Liang Ernie hurriedly called second aunt, and it turned out that the woman in front of her smiled like a flower. Okay, I'll make you your favorite pickled cabbage stewed meat, and Ernie, come to second aunt's house often in the future, Tingzhou used to grow up playing here, we are all a family." Aunt Xie was really happy, and while she was talking, second uncle Xie also lifted the curtain and walked out. Tingzhou. Second uncle Xie is a thin man, who looks very energetic, but he is very strong and can do carpentry work. Xie Tingzhou's bed when he was a child was made by second uncle Xie, and all the small toys were taken care of by second uncle Xie. It can be said that his own son has never been spoiled so much. "Second uncle. I brought my wife to see you," he said, and Liang Ernie beside him hurriedly called people. "Hello, uncle." Uncle Xie looked at this child who used to be a spoiled child and now had a family and career. His mood was naturally different and he smiled. "Why are you standing outside? Come on, go in and talk. I'll ask your aunt to prepare your favorite dishes for you later. You can go home after you finish eating." Liang Ernie had never had such a close relationship. Now she felt like she had fallen into a rich nest with Xie Tingzhou. She felt very dreamy. Xie Tingzhou also went in obediently, and after Uncle Xie brought him in, he took out the good things wrapped in cloth in his arms. Dang dang dang. "Uncle and aunt, look what this is." Uncle and Aunt Xie saw that Xie Tingzhou was still a child after marriage, and they didn't know what it was. They saw the big English jar with a photo of a child on it, but they knew it was a good thing. "What is this?" Uncle Xie really didn't know. He reached out and touched it. He had never seen it before. "This is milk powder. It is eaten by foreigners to nourish their bodies. It can be given to children or the elderly. I met a foreigner before and got 2 boxes from him. 1 box is for my uncle and aunt, and the other box is for my grandfather. I will send it back after they finish eating. Oh, by the way, my uncle and aunt should not give it to my cousins without my knowledge. I still have some. Next time, I will ask my cousin to bring some to my place for the children. This can is specially given to you too as a token of my gratitude. If it is sold in the department store, it will cost 10 yuan a can." Xie Tingzhou introduced it directly, and asked his aunt not to give it to his sons. After all, his uncle and aunt are old and should eat some milk powder to nourish themselves. Milk powder is also very useful for middle-aged people at this time. Xie Tingzhou thinks that he can get some milk powder to nourish the whole family in the future. 10 yuan, the second aunt was shocked. Second uncle Xie knew that Xie Tingzhou must have a way to get these things. This child gave them all the expensive things, out of his heart, so he smiled with narrowed eyes. I know, this is for you to show filial piety to me and your second aunt, I promise not to give it to anyone else. The two laughed immediately, thinking that being good to Ting Zhou was indeed good. This child was thoughtful, unlike the four of them in their family, who didn't miss them at all. I'll take you to see Grandpa. Your grandpa knows that you are getting married today, and he is in high spirits. He happily took Xie Tingzhou to the inner room. The room was very clean. There was a bed and a few other things, but it was enough to see that the people living in this room had been carefully cleaned. The person lying on the bed was none other than Xie Tingzhou's grandfather, Mr. Xie, who was paralyzed after a sudden stroke. He was also a good person in the village before. Grandpa, I'm here. I brought my wife to see you. Xie Tingzhou walked over and took his grandfather's hand. When Mr. Xie, who was lying there, saw Xie Tingzhou, his eyes lit up and he wanted to speak, but because of his paralysis, he couldn't organize his words. It was just that he really liked Xie Tingzhou from his eyes. Hello, Grandpa, I'm Liang Ernie. Liang Ernie also introduced herself, and then saw her husband chattering with Grandpa about what happened today. Although Grandpa couldn't reply, her husband still talked about it in detail. She thought about it, left the space to her husband, and went out to help second aunt cook. In the room, second uncle Xie looked for a while, and left the room, leaving Xie Tingzhou and old man Xie alone. While Xie Tingzhou was talking, he exchanged the sign-in system in his mind. Sign-in system, I want to sign in. It has not been possible to sign in since this morning. Xie Tingzhou feels that the original owner dares not even think about many things, but Xie Tingzhou is different. He dares to think and do. Does the host start signing in? The system's voice really sounded. At this moment, Xie Tingzhou looked directly at his grandfather lying there, thinking madly in his mind, let Grandpa recover, let Grandpa recover, let Grandpa recover, and then said silently in his heart, start signing in. This so-called one-key sign-in system seemed to be stuck. After hesitating for a few seconds, it made a sound. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. It was detected that the host particularly likes Grandpa's recovery. This time the host signed in successfully and received a recovery pill. In an instant, the recovery pill was in Xie Tingzhou's hand, and he could see the notes of this thing. Recovery pill, a magical pill that can make the host's grandfather recover after taking it. It has to be said that the bolder the person, the more productive the land. Xie Tingzhou looked at the pill with satisfaction and looked at his grandfather excitedly. Grandpa, I have a special magic pill. You will definitely recover after taking it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 63. Xie Tingzhou knew that he had the ability of the golden finger, otherwise he would not be targeted by the time travel department for recycling. After all, the existence of the golden finger is against the heavens. For example, the so-called sign-in of this Kangfu pill relies entirely on your imagination. Whatever you want most in your heart, it will give you, almost making your wishes come true. But the original owner was full of love, and finally lost himself. In addition, in this era of scarcity of materials, he did not have enough imagination, so he wasted this golden finger. Xie Tingzhou asked for rehabilitation pills for his grandfather as soon as he came up. Mr. Xie was paralyzed in bed the year before last. He had always been strong, which is probably what the old man is like. Suddenly one day he suffered a cerebral infarction and lay on the bed unable to move. He could only let go a filial son and a virtuous grandson wait on you in front of the hospital bed. Fortunately, the Xie family are all filial children. At that time, Mr. Xie did not favor anyone, and the promising children would help the less promising children to live their lives, so now Uncle Xie is willing to serve Mr. Xie. After the cerebral infarction, Mr. Xie could only make the sound of but in fact his brain still worked. He felt that his grandson would not harm him, but how could he say that the paralysis of the cerebral infarction would be cured? Is it cured? Xie Tingzhou refused to listen and directly held his grandfather's hand. Grandpa, I know you are paralyzed, but believe me, this is a miracle medicine. Keep it safe and you will feel better immediately after taking it. It's true. As he spoke, he took out the recovery medicine given by the one-click sign-in system. The white pill was quite small, about half the size of the fingernail of his little finger. At this time, Xie Tingzhou was holding it in his hand. Here, this is it. After eating, you can get up from bed tomorrow. Xie Tingzhou looked like he had been deceived, but Mr. Xie knew that his grandson was also doing it for his own good, so he sighed twice, which means that if you insist on letting me take it, then I will take it. Anyway, these so-called medicines will not work. If it takes human lives, it will be ineffective at best. In this way, Xie Tingzhou got the consent of Mr. Xie and hurriedly stuffed the white rehabilitation pill into his mouth. Mr. Xie opened his mouth in cooperation. He felt that the white rehabilitation pill was sweet and melted in his mouth. He thought that his grandson had indeed been fooled. Yes, this is sugar, how can it be medicine? But after eating, I felt as if it really had an effect. My mind suddenly became clear, and something seemed to be flowing in my body. This was something I never felt when I was groggy before. After all, people who are paralyzed are all paralyzed. Can't feel other parts of the body. After Xie Tingzhou gave his grandfather the medicine, he felt relieved and said, "Grandpa, this medicine won't work immediately. I'll come see you tomorrow. I believe you will recover." He was full of confidence. After all, this was the medicine given by the one-click sign-in system. He was definitely not lying when he said he would recover. Mr. Xie groaned twice, wanting to express to his grandson that this medicine really works, but he couldn't say it. However, after lying in bed for more than a year, he no longer had any hope in his heart. At this time, he could only feel the medicine flowing in his body. Unexpectedly, I began to look forward to it for the first time. If I could stand up, at least I wouldn't have to drag my son down, and I could still do some work, which would lighten everyone's burden. After bidding farewell to his grandfather, Xie Tingzhou went outside, and then saw his second uncle putting the milk powder in the cabinet as if he were protecting the baby. He was extremely happy to see Xie Tingzhou come out. "Tingzhou is out? Wait a minute, we'll have dinner soon. Your wife is a hard worker and will go to the kitchen to help as soon as she comes. I see she's pretty good." The second uncle of the Xie family also knew about Liang Yan and felt that Liang Yan was not a person to live in. The couple should stay together, otherwise they would eventually separate sooner or later. As long as the second uncle likes it, then I will often bring my wife over to have dinner with me in the future. Xie Tingzhou smiled playfully. The more he looked like this, the second uncle of the Xie family just liked this kind of thing and nodded immediately. "Come and eat as you like. You can come here every day. Your second aunt will prepare delicious food for you every day." As Uncle Xie said, he heard the noise from the kitchen. Aunt Xie and Liang Ernie brought out all the prepared meals. Among them were Xie Tingzhou's favorite braised pork with pickled vegetables, plus some fungus and so on. It could be said that it was the fragrance is so fragrant that it makes people drool. During the day, they had a good meal at the banquet. At night, Xie Tingzhou sat there, and Aunt Xie gave Xie Tingzhou some vegetables to eat. "Eat more, your child is too thin, and so is your wife. Come to my place for dinner more often. I will cook meat and vegetables for you every time to replenish your body." Xie Tingzhou has long been accustomed to such concern. Liang Ernie lowered her head to eat while her eyes were about to turn red. After all, in an environment like the Liang family, no one cared or loved her. Now in the Xie family, everyone it was because of Xie Tingzhou that he cared about her. Liang Ernie felt so happy that she almost cried. Okay, second aunt, don't worry, I will bring my wife over if nothing happens. Xie Tingzhou nodded and agreed to the second aunt's words. After finishing the meal, he took Liang Ernie's hand and went home. It was already dark, and every house had lights, but they were very sparse. Liang Ernie followed Xie Tingzhou home quietly. When she came to the door of Xie's house and saw the dim lights inside, she realized that she was in every house. Location. When Xie Tingzhou led people through the door, he found that everyone in the front hall was busy. The reason why Shijia village is richer than other villages is not only because of the mountains, but also because the Xie family discovered how to raise fungus. This thing is mountain products are usually only good in the mountains. The Xie family did not hide it. They raised the fungus with the people in the village, and then went to the department store in the city to sell the fungus. Every household had other activities besides farming. Income. At this moment, everyone is busy dividing the fungus. The fungus must be sold in high quality, and the best ones are naturally expensive, so every time you pick them out, you must separate them before drying them. It was the first time for Liang Yuxian and Zhang Sulan to do this, but they were good at work and learned it immediately. They didn't feel uncomfortable at all when staying with the Xie family, but they quickly integrated into it. You're back. Have you eaten? Guo Hong asked, but she actually knew that her son must have eaten it. Have eaten, the second aunt's cooking, Xie Tingzhou replied, making Xie Jianxi roll his eyes at his son, thinking that his son would go to various houses to eat, so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. But Guo Hong didn't say anything. You are not needed for the work here. You two, just go back to your house. The 4 major items I bought for your wedding are all in there. You and your wife can discuss what to do with it. In addition to the bicycle they bought for Xie Tingzhou as a gift, the Xie family also has 2 bicycles. After all, they have to go to the city frequently and cannot live without transportation. Okay, Mom, I'm going. After saying hello to her family, Liang Ernie returned to the house and saw a radio, a sewing machine, and a bicycle. Nowadays, these items are precious items and cannot be left outside the house overnight. I will take out this radio tomorrow and tune it for everyone to listen to. I also have a sewing machine at home. You can use this. If you don't know how to ride a bicycle, I will teach you how to ride it tomorrow. Xie Tingzhou said and collapsed on the bed. He was really tired. He had been busy all day without stopping. Liang Ernie looked at Xie Tingzhou like this, thought for a moment, and went out. After a while, she brought hot water and put it on the ground. Soak your feet, you're tired too. Too many things happened today, and Liang Ernie also knew that this young man was tired. Xie Tingzhou was a little flattered, but he didn't expect Liang Ernie to prepare foot washing water for him, so he quickly took off his shoes and socks and soaked his feet in it. As expected, he felt much better. However, after soaking his feet, he also got hot water for Liang Ernie. Let her wash it. Liang Ernie was also a little at a loss, but she still washed her feet at her husband's request. After the 2 of them finished washing, they sat on the bed. Xie Tingzhou took out a pile of money and tickets from his chest pocket. Here, these are the money and food stamps I want back. My mother gave them to me. She asked me to give them to you. She said that my wife will help take care of them. She will eat and live at home in the future and work for the family. With this money you save it first, and if you need to buy something, just buy it. She had never seen so much money in her life. Liang Ernie suddenly didn't know where to put these things with her hands, so she could only answer in a low voice. Okay, I'll hold it carefully. Seeing her like this, Xie Tingzhou felt that she was even more pitiful, and he sighed when he thought of her original fate. The original owner discovered after the wedding the next day that Liang Ernie was not Liang Yan's. He was made drunk by the three brothers of the Liang family on the day of the wedding. He didn't have time to discover what happened to Liang Yan. By the second day, it was already done. What else could he do? The Xie family was also confused and wanted to make a fuss, but when they arrived at the Liang family, the Liang family said that Liang Ernie had knocked Liang Yan unconscious. It was Liang Ernie's parents who secretly insisted on marrying off Liang Ernie because they saw the Xie family's good conditions. I exterminated Liang Ernie's parents and kicked them out. At that time, Liang Yan cried in front of the original owner, saying that we were destined to be destined, but now we are not destined to be destined, and then she looked at him lovingly, making him cry out of his heart. The original owner was already in love, but now he is naturally very high-minded and has determined that Liang Ernie is marrying for Liang Yan and is a bad woman. It's not that I want to hit Liang Ernie, I just don't care about Liang Ernie being out of sight, let alone looking for her original mother-in-law and father-in-law. Every time I go to Liang's house, I always give everything in the house to Liang Yan's biological parents. Emma, this is really shocking. But the real shock was yet to come. After marrying Liang Ernie, the Xie family wanted to get the bride price back, but the original owner refused. What would Liang Yan do? So he did something crazy and stupid. After Liang Yan went to college, he directly chased Liang Yan to go to college, either to go to school or to find Liang Yan. He even abandoned the three children who were pregnant at home. Liang Ernie of the month. It would be fine if the licking dog had everything in the end, but the original owner followed Liang Yan and used the sign-in system to exchange a lot of delicious food for Liang Yan. The best clothes and jewelry allowed Liang Yan to live in college for 4 years. My life was very nourishing, and I also had a good relationship with the mother of the man who was a leader in the Navy. As soon as he graduated from college and the soldier came back, Liang Yan married him. You thought it was over here? The original owner is still licking. The good things he got by signing in every day were given to Liang Yan. This behavior caused Xie Tingzhou to seriously doubt that he was a cuckold after seeing the memory. When Liang Yan encountered difficulties, the original owner helped solve them. When Liang Yan needed to work, the original owner helped. When Liang Yan needed to give birth to a child, the original owner was anxious as if the child was his. He abandoned his family, wife, and children in the village. Even if Liang Ernie gave birth to twins for him, he didn't even look at them. He only cared about kneeling and kissing Liang Yan's children. Liang Yan was smart. She let the child recognize the original owner as the godfather, which made the military husband jealous after he came back. After being jealous for a while, the two of them became more harmonious. In the end, this sucker was used for decades, serving Liang Yan all the time. He didn't care about his parents dying. His brother was so angry that he came and beat the original owner but didn't wake him up. The original owner didn't want Liang Ernie's children when they grew up, and insisted that Liang Yan's children were good children. After getting old, Liang Yan's husband retired and lived a good life of retirement. This sucker licked for a lifetime, holding such a big golden finger. His life was a mess, his children did not recognize him, his parents who once doted on him were not wanted, not to mention his sisters and brothers, as if he was possessed, and finally fell alone and never got up again. After seeing all this, Xie Tingzhou just wanted to curse that he deserved it. This is Liang Yan's poison. Whose dog can lick for decades? And he is also a cuckold, right? At this time, looking at the thin young wife in front of him, Xie Tingzhou sighed and decided to protect the Xie family well. He would not let Liang Yan go. It was late at night, and the two lay on a bed and a quilt. Liang Ernie was very nervous, but Xie Tingzhou patted her arm and said, "I won't do anything to you. You are not in good health now. Wait for a recovery, and we will be husband and wife again. Otherwise, with this physical condition, if you get pregnant, it will be really easy to die. Liang Ernie finally relaxed. After a day of tension, she fell asleep immediately. It was a beautiful dream. At Uncle Xie's house, after Uncle Xie fed his father at night, he cleaned him up and went to bed. But Mr. Xie, who was lying there, began to move his fingers twice. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 64. Summer mornings always get brighter. It is the end of July now, and it is hot. The Xie family is diligent in the morning. Uncle Xie gets up early. The first thing he does is usually to go to his father's room to check if his father wet the bed last night, and then wipe his father's face. When Mr. Xie was still capable, he was a decent man. Generally speaking, after Uncle Xie served him to go to the toilet at night, there would be no symptoms of bedwetting. Even so, Uncle Xie never asked others to take care of his father. When he was a child, he was sick and was carried by his father to seek medical treatment everywhere. Although he was not as capable as his eldest brother when he grew up, Uncle Xie still lived a good life with his father and eldest brother taking care of him. Pushing open the room where his father was, Uncle Xie looked over and was stunned. Because his father, who had been paralyzed for more than a year, was sitting there sitting by the bed. At this time, he saw his son and waved to his son. Second brother, come in. Grandpa Xie also had a complicated look. He sat there and raised his hand. After taking his grandson's medicine yesterday, he felt hot. Later in the middle of the night, he found that he could move, not only his arms, but also his body and legs. Grandpa Xie did not dare to make a sound. He could not sleep after midnight and walked around in the room. Now he was tired sitting here. But he was sure that he was really healed. He had been paralyzed for more than a year, and he was cured just by saying he would be cured. Grandpa Xie thought of his grandson's magical medicine and made up his mind. Dad. Second Uncle Xie was stunned. Seeing his paralyzed father suddenly stand up, he was also stunned at this moment. He rubbed his eyes quickly, thinking that he was dazzled. Otherwise, was he dreaming? But it was almost 6 o'clock now, and the sun was out in the morning. How could he be dreaming? Why are you standing there like an idiot? Come in, Grandpa Xie glared at his son directly. This was similar to Xie Jianxi. He loved to kick his son. After Mr. Xie and Mrs. Xie had 2 sons, they didn't have any more children. Mrs. Xie couldn't have children anymore, and the youngest son was always sick. Mr. Xie spent all his energy just to raise these 2 children, so even if the second son didn't have the same future as the eldest, Mr. Xie still loved him. Uncle Xie walked in stupidly at this moment, and then looked at his father standing there, stretched out his hand and quickly pinched his father's arm, then squatted down to pinch his father's leg, and then didn't bother to get up, squatting there and looking up at his father. Dad, you suddenly got better? Can you get out of bed all of a sudden? Can you talk? At that time, when his father suddenly became paralyzed, Xie Jianxi and Uncle Xie were really sad. The 2 grown men were red-eyed and rushed to serve their own father. It was Uncle Xie who said that there were few people in their family, which was conducive to Mr. Xie's recovery, and finally won the custody of their own father. Seeing his father recover, second Uncle Xie's eyes turned red, and such a big man seemed to be about to cry. Mr. Xie could naturally feel his son's excitement, and he reached out to pat his son. His son was not very promising, but he was really filial. For more than a year, Mr. Xie had a feeling. He also knew how his 2 sons treated him. The eldest son could handle things, and the second son could serve people, which was also good. How old are you? Isn't it ridiculous to cry? Call your wife over later, and let your wife notify your eldest brother and ask them to come over. I'm fine. After Mr. Xie said this, second Uncle Xie's tears fell, thinking that his own father was having a last breath, and suddenly got better and was going to die, otherwise why would his father call his eldest brother over? Okay, okay, I'll ask her to go and call someone. Dad, I'm here with you. Uncle Sia really felt that if he had a last breath, it would be better to let Dad continue to lie in bed. He would serve Dad for 1 year while he was alive. It was better than Dad being like this now. Thinking this way, Uncle Sia wiped his tears and hurried out to find his wife. Aunt Sia heard that Dad wanted to call Big Brother, so she didn't dare to delay and hurried out the door without even taking time to continue cooking. At this time in the morning, everyone in the village had gotten up early to cook and go to the fields. Aunt Sia hurried to Xie and Shi's house. Xie and Shi's whole family, including Liang Ernie, who had just married into the family, and the couples of the two families were all at home. She spoke nervously. Big brother and sister-in-law, please come to my house quickly. Dad is looking for you. This statement made people feel weird. Xie and Shi's eyes turned red, thinking that his father's time was coming. Guo Hong's eyes were also red. Everyone didn't care about anything else and rushed out the door. Xie and Shi's sons and daughters-in-law followed him. Xie Tingzhou had already guessed that his grandfather had recovered, but why did the second aunt's words sound so strange? Mr. Xie, who was waiting for his eldest son at his second son's house, soon waited for his eldest son, and then found that his eldest son came crying, and he was immediately furious. What are you crying for? I'm not dead yet. You're crying in advance. Mr. Xie couldn't help but scold his son, and then everyone realized that Mr. Xie could not only speak, but also stand there. Paralysis is healed? Is this really a last gasp? The crowd came in a black mass, and now they were all stunned, but they didn't dare to make a fuss. Mr. Xie said directly. Everyone else, go out first, the eldest, the second, and Tingzhou, you three stay, I have something to say. This made everyone's eyes red again, thinking that something really happened. In the end, only Grandpa Xie, the two sons of the Xie family, and Xie Tingzhou were left in the room. Xie Tingzhou directly held his grandfather's hand happily. Grandpa, you are really well. Am I right? The medicine I gave you yesterday was a magic medicine. You will definitely get better after taking it. Grandpa Xie looked at his grandson and felt that this grandson was not raised in vain. He kept all the good things for himself. Now he is afraid that he has had some adventure and got such medicine. He just looks silly and is easy to be fooled. Yes, Grandpa is well. Tingzhou, do you still have this medicine? He asked, and Xie Tingzhou shook his head. After all, the system gave it to make Grandpa recover, unless he signed in again. No, but there are others. He said this and immediately talked to the system in his mind. I want to sign in. I haven't signed in today yet. Host, please start signing in. The system reacted quickly, and Xie Tingzhou was thinking frantically about Guban Pewen in his mind. He had developed a medicine in a certain medical world before, which could regulate the human body after taking it. It was used to strengthen the body and strengthen the body. It was more effective for seriously ill people. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, reward the host with a Guban Pewen pill. The medicine immediately appeared in Xie Tingzhou's pocket. He put his hand in his pocket and felt the effect of the medicine. Guban Pewen pill, it can regulate the human body and restore the body to its best condition for 10 years. Delighted, Xie Tingzhou took out the Guban Pewen pill and handed it to his grandfather. Grandpa, I still have this on me. This medicine is called Guban Pewen pill. It is specially used to regulate the human body. You have just recovered. After taking this, you will be healthy for 10 years and immune to all poisons. His words, coupled with the green pills in his hand, made Xie Jianxi and second Uncle Xie on the side look dumbfounded. Old Master Xie did not question Xie Tingzhou at all, but instead showed concern. So you gave such a good medicine to Grandpa, what will you do in the future? This silly child, old Master Xie felt that it was good enough that he could recover. Now this medicine is very precious, so he still wants to leave it to his children. I will have it in the future, not only Grandpa, but also Dad, Mom, and second uncle, they will all have it. Xie Tingzhou planned to feed Guban Pe Wen Dan to everyone in the family. Nowadays, everyone's body is not so healthy, so this pill is best used as a guarantee, at least there will be no major problems in the next 10 years. Hearing this, old Master Xie was relieved a lot, and then opened his mouth and ate the green pill. After eating, he looked at his two silly sons and said, "Big brother, I called you here not because I am going to die, but because I am completely recovered. I recovered after taking the medicine that Tingzhou brought." After he said this, Xie Jianxi and second uncle Xie finally had no tears, but they were still very confused. What kind of medicine is so magical that it can cure a paralyzed person? Besides, where did Tingzhou get the medicine? The two looked at Xie Tingzhou in confusion, while Xie Tingzhou just smiled foolishly and said nothing. Tingzhou was born with good luck, and now he has a strange encounter. Since this medicine can cure me, you don't have to ask Tingzhou too much. He has you and me in his heart, so he took out such a precious medicine for me to eat, and even thought of you, so I hope that no one will know about this matter. It's enough for our family to know that Tingzhou has medicine in his hand. Old Master Xie understood the power of Xie Tingzhu's ability to take out this medicine overnight. He must be on guard against it. If everyone knew that Tingzhou had this ability, wouldn't they all come to ask for medicine? If Tingzhou couldn't take it out, wouldn't he let people eat it? Dad, don't worry, since you are well, we won't tell anyone about this matter. Xie Jianxi was also excited to see that his own father was well, and his son didn't know where he got the medicine from. He understood what his father meant and didn't ask about many things. Everyone has secrets. If you want everyone to live well, you have to keep the secrets mysterious. Yes, Dad, I promise not to tell anyone. Tingzhou is a good kid. I know he has us in his heart. Uncle Xie also promised, and in the end, this matter was defined as a successful wedding. So after the two adults of the Xie family came out, they were embarrassed for a while when facing the red eyes of the younger generation, and then explained. Dad's paralysis is healed. It's not a last gasp. He will be like a normal person in the future. When these words came out, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect that paralysis for more than a year could be cured. This is a medical miracle. It's better for Tingzhou to marry this daughter-in-law. This is just like a wedding. When Dad sees Tingzhou marrying a daughter-in-law, he will be happy and he will be fine. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 65. It is great for the Xie family that Mr. So the whole family was simply beaming with joy. Today, everyone in Xie's family drank milk powder. It was the first time I tasted the taste of goat milk powder. Not to mention, it was sweet and fragrant, and it was really delicious. Xie Tingzhou also drank milk powder, and for the first time he felt that the original owner's love brain at least didn't sign in and give something to Liang Yan, otherwise he would really vomit blood. This much milk powder is enough for the adults and children in the family to eat for a long time. After finally signing in, Xie Tingzhou planned to sign in and ask the system for the strengthening pill and the pill of strengthening the origin. Everyone in the family must arrange it. So in the next few days, Xie Tingzhou signed in every day, and all he got was a pill for strengthening the foundation and cultivating the yuan. He didn't eat it first, but gave it to the elders. Xie Jianxi knew that his son had an adventure, so he didn't ask. Anyway, he just gave him whatever he wanted. After eating, it was the same when it came to Xie Tingzhu's mother Guo Hong. Anyway, could her own son harm them? Soon the entire Xie village was shocked because they discovered that Mr. Xie, who had been paralyzed for a year, Actually got out of bed. Not only did I get out of bed, but I got up early in the morning after eating and went to the ground. Although the life of the Xie family is not bad, they are all farmers and they have to farm. It is the end of July and it is the time to harvest grain. The entire Xie family is busy in the fields. Except for Xie Tingzhou, even Mr. Xie, who was newly healthy, began to come to the fields early to collect grain. What do you think Xie Tingzhou is doing? Xie Tingzhou was studying at home. He only had small arms and legs, so it was okay to waste time by coming to collect food. If he got sunstroke again and the whole family had to worry, it would be better not to let him come. Liang Ernie's parents were now treated as one family in the Xie family, so they naturally helped to work together. The villagers quickly surrounded Mr. Xie. Uncle Xie, are your body and bones all healed? When Mr. Xie was paralyzed before, everyone in the village went to see him. After all, Mr. Xie was also a leader before and made outstanding contributions to Shijia village. Otherwise, many people in other villages starved to death, but their Shijia village did not starve to death. Yes, I'm fine. Mr. Xie was full of energy. He didn't look like a 70-year-old man, but he looked a little younger. Didn't you have to lie in bed before? How is this good? The villagers came over to see what was strange. They also knew that this man was old and couldn't move in bed, just waiting to die. They were so sad at first, but now they were shocked to see Mr. Xie as strong as an ox. Oh, isn't this Tingzhou getting married? I, a happy person, am actually getting better. This is what the older generation calls a happy event, right? As soon as this happy event is done, I will be fine. You also know Tingzhou, this child cannot bear shoulders or lift. His father and I are worried about him. Now that I am better, I can still help him a little, so that the child can be well. Mr. Xie said that it was the luck that made him recover. The people in the village were ignorant, so naturally they would not doubt it. They felt that there was a reason for the luck, and they all praised Xie Tingzhou for the good luck he had brought to Mr. Xie. It's not bad to marry Erni. We all think that Liang Yan is a bad person. Look, brother, as soon as you see Tingzhou marrying Erni, you will be fine. Isn't this a good granddaughter-in-law? The villagers in Shijia village really think so, and now they would curse Liang Yan as bad luck. Yes, Ernie is a good person. Our family is happy to have such a grandson-in-law. Now Ernie's parents are also in our home. It's good to live a lively life together. Mr. Xie was very open-minded and thought it would be good for Tingzhou to keep his wife and family at Xie's house, so that he would not have to deal with those Liang family members who were licking their faces in the future. Time flies and it's mid-August. This is a big change for the Xie family. Xie Tingzhou signed in for almost a month and directly distributed the medicine, which strengthens the foundation and strengthens the vitality, to everyone in the family, even the children, father-in-law and mother-in-law. Everyone responded to some degree after taking the medicine. For example, Xie Jianxi's legs always hurt before, but now they no longer hurt. My mother, Guo Hong, suffers from back pain. She suffered from the disease during confinement, but now she no longer has any pain. The same goes for the rest of the family. After taking this medicine that strengthens the body and strengthens the body, everyone is full of energy and has much more strength to work. In early August, they collected all the food at home and even went to the back mountain to do it. The cultivation of fungus and mushrooms can be said to be really powerful. The women have all seen obvious changes. The most obvious one is that their skin has become whiter and more delicate. Each one of them has a better relationship with their husbands. Even Guo Hong has a rosy complexion. Liang Ernie's parents also took medicine. After less than a month at Xie's house, she had already gained some weight and looked very energetic. The most shocking thing is Liang Ernie. She was originally skinny, but now she eats well and takes medicine. She has turned into a fair and tender little girl, with fair and shiny skin, and a pretty and quiet face. Especially looking at you with watery eyes, not to mention how beautiful you are. It would be an understatement to say this is a complete transformation. Many people in the village also noticed the strangeness, but they all thought it was the result of a happy marriage. It seemed that Liang Ernie and the Xie family were destined to be together. Once she got married, everyone in the Xie family's condition improved. When talking about this, I have to scold Liang Yan twice. I have never seen such a shameless woman. Xie Tingzhou studied in the study at home and occasionally taught the children to study. In the words of the old man of the Xie family, Tingzhou, you can't do physical work. If you don't study hard and get into a good university, how can you support your wife and children? The Xie family thought so. They thought Xie Tingzhou was smart and would get into university sooner or later, so they never thought of asking him to work. Liang Ernie didn't go to the fields either. Guo Hong asked Liang Ernie to learn a few words. Even if she didn't go to university in the future, at least the couple would have a common language. If the two people were too different, it would be easy to get into trouble. Ernie, shall I give you another name? I think your name is not valued enough. Xie Tingzhou suggested. After all, which girl is valued by the name of Ernie? Okay, I'll listen to you. Liang Ernie is now very obedient, whether to her husband or her parents-in-law. She has a good life in this family and she doesn't want to lose it all. Well, I think, your eyes are very beautiful, sparkling, and your face is white and clean. How about calling her Liang Bailing? You see, my grandfather got better as soon as you married into our family, proving that you are also very spiritual. This name has a little metaphysical flavor. Xie Tingzhou only hopes that Liang Ernie's future life can be like now, looking at the world with sparkling eyes. Bailing, this name is really nice. Liang Ernie likes this name very much and smiled immediately. Then I will tell my parents and my parents about my new name later. Since she learned to read, she has been working hard every day, knowing that her name is two very beautiful words. Yeah, okay, I will change your household registration later. My Bailing is so beautiful, she must have a good name. Xie Tingzhou likes Liang Bailing's obedient appearance the most, and feels like he is raising a little girl. In fact, he remembered all the knowledge in the book after reading it once. He will definitely be able to enter university next year. However, if he is admitted to university, he will have to leave home and go to school in another province. At that time, he will not be able to take care of the situation at home. If everyone can go to school together. Thinking of this, Xie Tingzhou suddenly had an idea and asked Bailing in front of him. Bailing, can you remember the things I taught you when you are reading the book now? The older a person is, the worse his learning ability will be. This is inevitable. Some can be remembered, some can't, but I will try hard. Liang Bailing was in a good mood when she heard her new name called out by her husband, and immediately promised that she would study hard. Xie Tingzhou said mysteriously. Do you want to remember it after reading it once? Liang Bailing widened her eyes. Really? How can you remember it after reading it once? She thought to herself that she was not a smart person. Although Liang Yan was admitted to university, she also studied for several years. How could she remember it after reading it once? If I say yes, then yes, Xie Tingzhou said, and then started signing in today. I want to sign in. The daily sign-in system responded immediately. Host, please prepare to sign in today. The medicine that made Liang Bailing remember everything immediately appeared in Xie Tingzhou's mind. If this thing were in an ordinary world, of course it would be impossible, but this is a world with a golden finger, you can have whatever you want. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and reward the host with a photogenic pill. Please continue to sign in tomorrow. Soon Xie Tingzhou got the medicine and saw the latest drug information. Photogenic pill, Taking it can give people the ability to remember everything they see. Okay. Before leaving Shijia village, Xietingzhou just wanted to transform all his family members. When he arrived in the outside world, he could change more things and even lead his family to change the world. Here. Take this, and you will be able to read after reading once. Xietingzhou is not afraid of cheating. They are the closest people in the world. Only when everyone is strong can life continue to get better and better. I believe you. Liang Bailing took the pill without hesitation, just like when Xietingzhou asked his family to take the pill before, no one objected, and they took it without asking. Anyway, Xietingzhou would not harm them, it was all for their good. After taking the pill, Xietingzhou immediately took out a book and taught Liang Bailing again. Half an hour later, Liang Bailing's eyes were straight and dumbfounded. Oh my God, I remembered it after reading it once, I learned it. The ability to remember everything at a glance makes people feel thrilling. If you have such an ability, it is only a matter of time to enter university. Well, so you have to work hard this year, and we will take the university entrance examination together next year. Xietingzhou said seriously, making Liang Bailing nod immediately. At night, the Xie family members learned Liang Bailing's new name and her photographic memory. They were immediately surprised and praised Liang Bailing. Unexpectedly, they heard their own child Xietingzhou say, I have something to announce today. I think knowledge is too important for our family. Anyway, the crops have been harvested and the land has been planted. Let's study together tomorrow. Let's take the college entrance examination together next year. Our family will never be separated wherever we go. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 66. Everyone present was shocked, even Mr. Xie. After he recovered, he came to live with the Xie family. It was not that he looked down on the second son, but that he had caused trouble to the second son before, and now he planned to come to the eldest son's house to eat and drink. In order to thank his younger brother, Xie Jianxi even brought a lot of good things to his younger brother. Uncle Xie couldn't resist, so he took these things. Now the Xie family is a big one. Mr. Xie is the top generation, followed by the elders Xie Jianxi and Guo Hong. Going down are the daughter and son-in-law, two sons and daughter-in-law, as well as the Liang family couple and Xietingzhou couple. There are also a lot of carrot tops. Tingzhou, what do you mean? I know it's boring for you to study alone. Just let your wife accompany you. Although the family has collected food, they still have to go to the back mountain to see the fungus. Otherwise, how can they live a good life? A good day. Mr. Xie was not angry, but instead seriously reasoned with Xietingzhou. After all, reading is what Jin Gairan does. I don't say whether they can read or not. It's just that some people's brains are not very good and they can't read even if they are given a book. When Mr. Xie insisted on letting educated youths teach the children in the village, it was because of the group of leaders who were decentralized in the early years. Those leaders were well-known leaders in Shangjing City. At that time, Mr. Xie not only did not abuse them when they were decentralized, but I also learned a lot of good things from them. The importance of reading is what Mr. Xie saw from these people, because although many of these people are very thin, they all have the character of scholars. Grandpa, I know what you mean. You are doing it for the sake of your family. But now we have food at home. Besides, it is so hot in August. Even if you go to the back mountain, you can go at night. We just study at home during the day, and I am alone. I teach Bai Ling and the children, and I teach you both together. Did you see that Bai Ling can remember what I teach her and learn at once? Xietingzhou looked at his grandfather seriously, thinking that the photographic memory medicine produced by the system was of course very powerful. For ordinary people, it was a dimensionality reducing blow, so Xie did not hesitate and must let everyone in his family use it. Their family has to transform from illiterate people into intellectuals. Then we can't be as smart as Bai Ling. Besides, we are older and cannot compare to children. Mr. Xie also knows that learning ability is declining year by year, so children can learn what is fastest, but adults cannot learn it. Bai Ling was also very slow in learning before, but I have the medicine. I have decided to make everyone have photographic memory by then. Then it won't be a problem for our family to go to college. As soon as Xie said these words, everyone fell silent, because everyone knew that Xie had some adventures and didn't know what the medicines in his hands were, but after taking them, everyone felt very good and suffered from old diseases. It's all gone, so it's a lie if everyone says they're not excited at this time. People these days are envious of intellectuals. Think about it, Liang Yan was admitted to university. After the university notice came out, Liang Jiakan boasted like that, and the Liang family even asked for 1,000 yuan. Isn't it because of this? How valuable are college students? So even at this age, if these people have the opportunity to study, they will be excited. And when Liang Yan looked down on me, wasn't it because I didn't go to college? Now I have a way. By next year, not only will I go to college, but our whole family will go to college, so that everyone can see, look, our Xie family's genes are so good, everyone in our Xie family is a powerful person. Who wouldn't envy our Xie family in the future? When Xie Tingzhou saw his grandfather's heartbeat, he immediately resorted to aggressive tactics. Sure enough, when he mentioned Liang Yan, everyone in the family looked ugly, including Liang Bailing. After all, the Xie family has been let down. This is because they no longer want Tingzhou after they are admitted to university. No matter how they try to win over Tingzhou, it is useless. They just become more energetic after being admitted to university. Mr. Xie originally refused, but when he saw his grandson's reaction when he mentioned Liang Yan, he knew that Liang Yan had still caused harm to Xie Tingzhou. After all, his fiancée, who had been engaged for 4 years, did not want him. As a man, he naturally felt this in his heart. It's hard to get over it. Even though Xie Tingzhou and Liang Bailing are in love now, the feeling of being humiliated still exists. Xie Jianxi and Guo Hong gnashed their teeth angrily, as did several of Xie Tingzhu's brothers and sisters. They hated Liang Yan to the core, and even their sister-in-law cursed Liang Yan in their hearts. Okay. Since you have this intention, then starting from tomorrow, our whole family will study with you. But tomorrow morning, you will study for others first. I will take your father and the others to the city to buy some books. Since we want to study, then you can't be pretentious, you have to study hard. I'm afraid we don't have enough stationery at home, and we don't have enough tables. I'll tell your second uncle later to get some more tables, and we can study together as a family. Mr. Xie immediately took the case and gave the result, then looked around and looked at everyone present, including everyone in the Xie family, as well as Xie Chenyu and her husband. When it finally landed on Liang Yushan, he quickly nodded with his wife. My son and I are also studying. We study hard. We will never embarrass our son-in-law. Liang Yushan really didn't expect that he would still have the opportunity to study in this life, and his son-in-law also said that he would let all of them go to college and not treat them as outsiders. Everyone was happy. It's a pity that my wife is mute, otherwise she would have worked very hard to study, and she would have been able to do something useful to society if she was admitted to university. Zhang Sulan expressed her support for her son-in-law, and then Xie Tingzhou remembered that his mother-in-law was mute, and it was impossible to study like this. Since everyone is studying together, why don't you call uncle here tomorrow? There is nothing going on at home. The uncle Sietchenyu mentioned is Xie Tingzhu's younger uncle. He has been married for many years and is very good to Xie Tingzhu. He lives in the next village. Okay, you can call someone here tomorrow. There is also the second child. Since we are studying, the second child and the second daughter-in-law will also be together. Let's learn from each other and we must learn a name. Mr. Xie has been able to become a leader because he has been learning and changing all his life. His order immediately set the whole family in motion. After eating, Sietchenyu went directly to the next village with her mother Guohong overnight to tell her uncle about the matter and asked her uncle to come over and take the children at home to learn together. It only took 30 minutes to walk and they would be there soon. Then the other men in the family started getting wood to make tables. After all, everyone had to study. It was not enough to just put a table in the study room at home. They had to make a big table and make many chairs so that everyone could study together. Uncle Xie and Aunt Xie were also called to help. When he heard that he wanted to study, Uncle Xie refused at first. But when he heard that Liang Yan was admitted to university and disliked his family, Tingzhou felt sad for so long and suddenly became angry. Come to one place. Isn't it just a bloodbath? Even if he is 70 or 80 years old, he still has to study hard. Hold on for Tingzhou. Everyone gathered firewood and the flames were high. The Xie family made chairs overnight. After all, there were many men and they could do things quickly. Early the next morning, they rode their bicycles to the city early. They wanted to buy paper and pens, and also there are books, which everyone will need by then. Mr. Xie spent this money alone. Although he was paralyzed before, he saved the money himself, but everyone knew where it was, but no one touched the two children. Now they have all been taken out to buy pen and paper, for the future of the Xie family. Everyone left. Xie Tingzhou did not redeem the medicine of photographic memory today. Instead, he held his mother-in-law's hand a little too intimately for the first time and started to sign in. Start signing in. Please host to enable sign in. The image of his mother-in-law talking appeared in Xie Tingzhu's mind, and he quickly signed in successfully. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for successfully signing in. You will be rewarded with the ringing pill. After getting this medicine, I saw the reminder above. Sound pill, it is a medicine that can make the host's mother-in-law speak. Xie Tingzhou was even more satisfied with this one-click sign-in system, and then directly handed the medicine to his mother-in-law Zhang Sulan. Mom, you take this medicine and you can talk after taking it. When he said this, Zhang Sulan was stunned, not to mention the other women present and Liang Yushan. Zhang Sulan was not the biological child of her adoptive parents. She had a fever when she picked it up, and later became mute. Now that she saw this medicine, Zhang Sulan, the hands holding the medicine were trembling. She didn't even ask and just ate it. Everyone knows that Xie Tingzhou has a secret, but as we are a family, no one will ask or pursue it, just for the sake of everyone's good life. After Zhang Sulan took the medicine, she felt her throat react immediately. After a while, she tried to speak. Bai Ling. She actually called out her daughter's name. Liang Bailing's eyes suddenly turned red. Liang Yushan also cried. He hugged his wife and wished he could kneel down to Xie Tingzhou. If Guohong hadn't stopped him, he would have really knelt on the ground to say thank you. Now, Mom, you can study with us in the future. When the time comes, we will be admitted to college together, and we will all go to big cities. Xie Tingzhou didn't seem to know what kind of shocking thing he had done. Guohong could only sigh when he saw his son was so stupid. After his father and husband came back, he chased Xie Tingzhou and talked to him again, for fear that the child would kill him. The mystery is directed at people outside this family. Unbeknownst to Xie Tingzhou, everyone in the Xie family, including Liang Bailing and her parents, held a meeting, mainly to protect Xie Tingzhou. They all knew about Xie Tingzhu's adventures, so they had to protect him even more and not let Tingzhou be deceived. He is too soft-hearted and too naive, and his family must protect this child. Mr. Xie also had a private meeting with his two sons and directly hit Xie Jianxi with his crutch. "Look at me, I don't care. This is how you let people bully our Tingzhou. What a piece of shit is Liang Yan. She thought she was admitted to the normal school in Beijing. What will happen? People with bad character now, there is a possibility of expulsion from the school. Construction, when I went to the city today, I had already written to Mr. Wang. People like Liang Yan are not worthy of being a teacher even if they have been in college for 4 years. If they dare to bully my grandson, I will not do it. It won't make things easier for the Liang family." When Xie Jianxi heard that his father actually helped Tingzhou arrange things, he felt guilty and could only say, "I listened to Dad. I failed to protect Tingzhou. I promise that no one will bully Tingzhou again in the future. Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 67. The Xie family are all people who always work hard to get to the same place together. In less than 2 days, the study room was empty and filled with tables and chairs. Moreover, Xie Tingzhou even made a blackboard, which he got from the village chief. I picked up the chalk and started the process of teaching the Xie family. In addition to Xie Tingzhou, the Xie family, including Mr. Xie and Xie Jianxi, can read a few big characters. They can read leaflets, but not if they are too complicated. The women in the family are also about the same. They are semi-illiterate anyway. The teaching at the beginning was a bit simple, so Xie Tingzhou was not in a hurry and signed in while teaching. The entire Xie family, from the eldest in his 70s to the youngest not over 7 years old, all sat obediently in the newly opened study room and started their school journey. Everyone is enthusiastic about adding firewood. We study together and we are a family. Naturally, there is a lot of competition in learning. After class, we end up doing endorsements during lunch. Xie Tingzhou signed in every day, and then gave everyone the pills that they had never forgotten. Without asking, everyone just believed in Xie Tingzhou and ate them whole. Then he told Xie Tingzhou that when he left this house, people outside should never give them to him. "Don't tell me that you have this adventure." It can be said that Xie Tingzhou is stared at and told once a day. His grandfather and father seem to be very worried about him, so they have to follow Xie Tingzhou when his 2 brothers and brother-in-law go to the toilet, let alone go to other people's homes in the village. Anyway, they are always around him. There is a person following. In the eyes of the Xie family, even though Xie Tingzhou seems to have had an adventure now, he is very soft-hearted and knows how to make the family better together. This child has a pure heart and it will be fatal if he is deceived. Mr. Xie gets up early every day to exercise, thinking that it is best for him to live for another 20 years. His grandson Xie Tingzhou has been bullied to death after being paralyzed for more than a year. Now he has such an adventure. If he doesn't watch, if anyone in the family has second thoughts, then the little guy will be finished sooner or later. Xie Tingzhou is fearless. Since he dares to take it out, he naturally has his own means. Today he can sign in with one click to exchange for this magical medicine, and tomorrow he can exchange it for the most special weapon. There is no problem in protecting himself, it just depends on whether Xie Tingzhou wants it or not. The top gold fingers often depend on how the user uses them. August soon bottomed out. After remembering each and every one of them, the Xie family deeply enjoyed the joy of learning. By the beginning of September, in addition to studying, it was time to go to the back mountain to plant fungus. The temperature in the front and back of Shijia village is different, so the fungus is planted in September and harvested in April of the following year, so it can be sold at a good price. Some harvest it twice, which is always the village's income. Shijia village seemed to be living a peaceful life, but little did they know that what happened in Shijia village had actually reached the ears of the villagers in Liangjia village. For example, Liang Ernie is a lucky granddaughter-in-law. After marrying her, it was like a happy wedding. She actually made Mr. Xie, who had been lying in bed for 2 years, get up from the bed and fully recover. There is also Zhang Sulan, who has always been mute. After living in the Xie family, she can actually speak. Whoever heard this didn't know a word, whether it was the Xie family that had good feng shui or the Liang family that didn't. Mr. Liang has always been angry recently. In order to repay the betrothal gift to his eldest son, he directly asked his younger son for money. His younger son Liang Yingjun's wife was from the city. It turned out that the money was borrowed at the time, but when he asked for it later, his eldest son couldn't pay it back. The noise at home all day long made Mr. Liang so angry that he would hide under a big tree in the village after eating every time. The eldest son of the Liang family, Liang Yingke, and the youngest son of the Liang family, Liang Yingjun, had a good relationship at first, but now they were quarreling because of Liang Yan's gift. The entire Liang family had a depressing atmosphere. Liang Yan never expected that after her rebirth, she just cancelled Xie Tinghu's marriage, but the result was that the family was in such a mess. Her parents quarreled all day long, and her mother shed tears. Bai Jing naturally didn't ask for any money after she returned to her parents' home today. 200 yuan of Liang Yan's betrothal gift was given to her parents' family by Bai Jing. Liang Ying didn't care about this matter at first, but now she was pointed at and scolded by her younger brother. Naturally, it was we can only force the wife to go back to her parents' home to get it. Since Liang Yan broke off the engagement, the Liang family is now being criticized in the village and cannot hold their heads high. Why am I so miserable, meeting such parents? After Bai Jing came back, she started crying. When Liang Yingke heard that she had no money again, she slammed the door and left. The house was deserted, and Liang Yan quickly came over to comfort her mother. Mom, don't cry. Those people are looking down on others. Isn't it just 1,000 yuan? I will go to college. How many thousand yuan will I earn by then? Liang Yan is someone who has seen the future. Naturally, she knows the rapid development of society after the 1980s. After spending the 1990s to the 2000s, let alone 1,000 yuan, 10,000 yuan is nothing. Money. At that time, Liang Yan remembered that she was studying in a normal school in Shangjing City. In such a big city, buying a down jacket costs several hundred yuan. Cry. Yanzi, Mom can only rely on you in this life. Your 3 brothers are starting to make trouble with me now, not to mention your dad. Mom has no idea about your breakup and supports you. But now the Liang family's reputation is, no, so you must strive for success, you know? In a few days, you will go to Shangjing City to go to college. Mom just hopes that you can study hard in college, and then give Mom a good reputation, and then make money to slap them in the face. My girl is a college student, how can I marry into a mountain valley? Bai Jing was told several times by Liang Yan about the happy life after going to college. Naturally, she believed that her daughter would make a lot of money, and then she would be able to hold her head high. Little did she know that Liang Yan had never graduated from college in her previous life. Because I was pregnant and had a baby, I didn't want to study or suffer. In the end, I didn't want to go to college. With a large Xie family to support them, they don't have to work. They only need to buy, go shopping and play cards. They don't even have to take care of the children. How can such a person make money by himself? Mom, don't worry. I will study hard when I get to the big city and let you live a good life. I know you are the one who is carrying the pressure of the family now. I will definitely look good when I leave this time. Liang Yan assured her mother that in her opinion, going to college again was a new experience for her, and reliving the 1980s, when she arrived in Beijing, she could see if she could make some money. Now everywhere as a self-employed person, 1,000 yuan is nothing. Beijing started to cry again, which made Liang Yan feel distressed, but she still couldn't help complaining. It's all Xieting's whose fault. I have been his fiancé for 4 years, but when he fell out, he refused to give our family face. In the future, when I go to a big city and make money, people like Xieting Zhou will die in this poor valley. Inside, the momentary grievance is nothing. Let's see who will have the last laugh in the future. Liang Yan has been having a hard time in the Liang family recently. She used to be sought after and held in the palm of her hand, but now she is ignored by everyone, so naturally she feels bad. The more uncomfortable I feel, the more I blame Xieting Zhou in my heart. I feel that Xieting Zhou is not a man. You actually took back the things you sent back. Shame on you. Anyway, the Liang family lived such a miserable life. In mid-September, Liang Yan finally went to school in Beijing, and now the Liang family finally held their heads high. Beijing packed Liang Yan's luggage, and the entire Liang family sent Liang Yan out of the village to take a train. The tickets were very expensive, so they could only send Liang Yan to the train without giving Liang Yan any money. I prepared a lot of gifts and food, because I was afraid that a girl wouldn't be able to watch them. The train at this time was also an old-fashioned train. When Liang Yan saw that her grandfather and parents finally had smiles on their faces, she boarded the train happily and headed towards a bright future. She will definitely go to college well this time, and then marry her cousin-in-law, and then become the wife of a military commander and look majestic. There were so many people in the car, and there were salutes everywhere, and there was no place to stay. So Liang Yan didn't dare to sleep for the next day and night, and arrived in Shangjing in a panic. The university she was admitted to was Shangjing Normal University, which was considered a relatively good school. Anyway, these days it was allotment. After finishing normal school, she would be directly assigned to work in some places as a teacher. It was the day when the university started, and the gate of Beijing Normal University was full of people. They were all reporters. There were people in their 30s and 40s, and there were also young women like Liang Yan. Of course, the majority were men. After all, these days, girls who can study are still rare, and most of them get married and have children early. The queue quickly reached Liang Yan, and Liang Yan handed over her college notice. "Hello, classmate, I am here to report. I am Liang Yan." The person who was welcoming the new students was actually a teacher. After getting Liang Yan's college notice, he lowered his head and glanced at the name on it, then looked up at this unfamiliar woman and asked, "Is it Liang Yan from Liangjia village in Dafeng province?" The teacher had no expression. Liang Yan thought that the teacher knew everyone's information, so she nodded. "Yes, teacher, I am Liang Yan from Dafeng province." She smiled, and she looked really good looking. She was fair and clean, and she was very elegant. A lot of boys were peeking at her just now. After all, there were still very few girls in the school. But the next moment, the male teacher directly put down Liang Yan's admission notice, then stood up and said, "Comrade Liang Yan, I'm sorry, you can't report to our school now. After our school's investigation of your personal character, we believe that you are not suitable to be a teacher, teach and educate people, and will have an improper influence on the children. So we will no longer admit you to Beijing Normal University." As soon as these words came out, Liang Yan was stunned. "You know, in my previous life, I entered directly after reporting, so why can't I do it now? Why am I not suitable to be a teacher and educate others?" Suddenly, the people around him looked over when they heard the sound. Liang Yan blushed and couldn't help raising her voice to question. "Teacher, why do you say that to me? Why do you say that the school can't admit me? Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 68. Obviously, there was no such thing in her previous life. Xieting Zhou accompanied her to report at that time, and the teacher did not say that she was not allowed to go to school. For some reason, Liang Yan felt a little scared. The question teacher was helpless, looked at the woman in front of him with a contemptuous look, and then asked quietly. "Don't you know what you did? Do you have to tell me?" The other two teachers had also heard of Liang Yan's name. After all, the principal had called them over before and explained Liang Yan's student. Such a student would never be admitted. Their school is to train teachers, and such a person is not worthy of being a teacher. The students around also came here, not understanding why this woman with a good appearance offended the teacher and why she was suddenly not admitted. Some people wanted to be a hero to save the beauty, and came over to look at Liang Yan's angry cheeks and looked a little puzzled. "Teacher, you are not allowed to enter even though you have an admission letter." He asked everyone's questions, and the male teacher did not hide it. He thought that Liang Yan in front of him did not know her mistakes at all. Perhaps in her heart, she did not think she was wrong at all. "Liang Yan, our school actually investigates the family environment and growth environment of each student. We know your situation very well. 4 years ago, you were engaged to someone else. At that time, they gave you information, helped you study, and let you enter the university. But after entering the university, you turned your face and did not recognize your fiancé. Not only that, if you apologized and made amends, it would be fine, but you actually let other girls in your family marry you. How could our school accept a student like you who does not abide by morality and is ruthless and ungrateful?" Last year, several people dropped out of Shangjing Normal University, and the list was posted. Most of them were educated youth who abandoned their wives and children. Think about it, if you can abandon your closest people, how can you be sincere to your students? So the normal school has more standardized behavior and higher moral requirements for a person. But we have broken off the engagement, and I have returned all the things in their house to them. Why can't I go to school? Where is your leader? I want to see the principal. I want to ask why I can't go to school. Liang Yan was crazy. She didn't expect that her things would be known to people in Shangjing City thousands of miles away, and she said it in such a public place. Now the eyes of the classmates around her looked at Liang Yan differently. It's not easy for a woman to study. Everyone thought Liang Yan was spoiled by her family. As a result, you were engaged for 4 years, and you studied with her resources. In the end, you kicked her away after you were admitted to the university. Is it appropriate for you to do this? Everyone's sympathy for Liang Yan turned into contempt. They really looked down on such a person who didn't keep his promise. The male teacher looked at Liang Yan, who was about to make trouble, with a cold face. "Our principal knows about your situation and personally issued a review, saying that you are not suitable for our school or for being a teacher. A teacher must first correct himself before he can teach and educate people. This is the teacher's ethics. Who would dare to entrust their children to you for education? Do you want to teach them to be as ruthless as you?" This scholar has a set of words. Even if Liang Yan lived a new life, she would not be as eloquent as him. Don't mention that her face is red and white now. Well said. Teacher, you said it well. Teacher. When you are a teacher, you must be true to yourself. The students cheered and supported the teacher's behavior. After all, everyone will have children in the future and learn knowledge. If your child meets a teacher like Liang Yan and eventually becomes an ungrateful person like Liang Yan who climbs up the ladder, who would be willing? Now is the time when everything is waiting to be rebuilt. Everyone pays attention to integrity and believes in knowledge, so character has become the most important part of university assessment. Liang Yan was expelled from school, and everyone supported her. The cheers from the people around her seemed to be a slap in Liang Yan's face, making her feel ashamed and humiliated. She thought that she could make a name for herself and slap Xie's family in the face when she came to college, but she didn't expect that she couldn't even get into college in the end. At this time, someone was particularly bad and said directly behind Liang Yan. Classmate, you should leave quickly. The school won't accept you. Let me report first. This classmate originally thought that Liang Yan was pretty, but now she looked disgusting. After all, a woman used her fiancé's things for 4 years, and finally became famous and kicked him out. This degree of cruelty is enough to make many people unacceptable now. In the end, Liang Yan could only leave the gate of Shangjing Normal University in a mess. She felt cold all over. Shangjing City in September was already much colder, and now she was at a loss with a lot of gifts, not knowing where to go. Go home. When she gets home, her grandfather and parents will know that she has been expelled from school, and they will beat her to death. But stay in Shangjing City? Liang Yan has never traveled far away alone before. She used to go out with Xieting Zhou. Although Xieting Zhou is not very successful, he will prepare everything for Liang Yan in advance, even if it is just a drink of water. Xieting Zhou will remember it. But now without Xieting Zhou's support, Liang Yan realized that she was actually a little bit unable to move. And why wouldn't the university want her? She had done well to get into the university. As she was walking, she saw a big character poster outside Shangjing Normal University. After taking a look, she found that it was a list of students who dropped out of school. It seemed to be from last year. It said that a certain educated youth was admitted to Shangjing Normal University and was found to have abandoned his wife and children. He also cheated on his female classmates in school, so he dropped out directly. Liang Yan suddenly remembered that this was not the internet age like later generations. The school would not care what people did. But Liang Yan was still living in a stage where the school needed to cultivate many talents, so it paid more attention to talents. If you have flaws, you will definitely be expelled, and they have the right to do so. After walking for a long time, Liang Yan couldn't help crying. She didn't have much money this time. Because her family returned the betrothal gift before, the village chief didn't give her the 100 yuan bonus that he had promised to give her. So Liang Yan only had 50 yuan in her hand now. She thought everything would be fine after entering the school. But Liang Yan didn't expect that she couldn't even get into the school. After walking on the road for a long time in the cold wind, Liang Yan wiped her tears and found a hotel to stay in, thinking about what to do. Anyway, she must not tell her family about this. When she stayed in a hotel that cost more than 10 yuan a night, with only a few dozen yuan left, Liang Yan felt scared and wronged. She didn't know why she suddenly thought of Xieting Zhou. Yes, Xieting Zhou was quite unpromising in his previous life. He didn't do anything big in his life, but the Xie family loved and spoiled Xieting Zhou, giving him all kinds of food, drinks, and money. Liang Yan never worried about the money. After they gave birth to the child, they sent it back to the eldest sister-in-law to raise. Later, 2,000 years later, it was heard that Shijia village had greenhouse vegetables and could sell them to several provinces. Everyone made a lot of money, but Xieting Zhou, who she chose, was the most unpromising. Thinking of this, Liang Yan started to cry again out of grievance. After a person was reborn, it was not like he had a new brain. Liang Yan could not become a genius all of a sudden and know everything. So the next morning, Liang Yan thought of a way. She decided to go to the cousin's husband's house in advance. It was said that his wife ran away at this time, leaving the old mother and youngest son at home without anyone to take care of them. Liang Yan believed that if she said she would take care of them, the other party would definitely agree. Thinking of this, Liang Yan wanted to buy a ticket to go back, but the money was still not enough. In the end, she worked odd jobs in Shangjing City for a week. Now was the time when self-employed people were rising, so as long as you were willing to work hard, you could earn something, not to mention in Shangjing City. After she earned the money, she bought a ticket and took the train home. Of course, she didn't go back to Liangjia village, but to Chunfeng City in Daifeng province. She still remembered that her cousin's husband's family had a stable job in Chunfeng City at that time, which seemed to be in the plastic factory. Her cousin's husband's father died in the factory at that time, due to work-related injuries. Later, they were given a house and her cousin's husband's mother was arranged to serve food in the canteen of the plastic factory. So Liang Yan didn't go home directly, but went straight to the home of her cousin's husband who was still a soldier in her memory. The cousin's husband in this memory was called Gu Hang. He was tall and dark. His father died of work-related injuries, leaving behind his mother, wife, and a son. Gu Hang's mother was called Lu Yuan, but Liang Yan didn't know the wife who ran away. She found the plastic factory in Chunfeng City all the way, and then asked people about Lu Yuan. "Who are you to Lu Yuan?" the worker asked the young woman. "I just know her. Gu Hang and I have met before." When she said this, the worker immediately understood, and then thought of Lu Yuan's daughter-in-law who ran away, leaving her with an orphan and a widow. Now there is another one? Finally, the worker called Lu Yuan. It was also the first time that Lu Yuan saw Liang Yan. Seeing such a white and clean woman with no calluses on her hands, she knew that this woman did not work at home, and she was immediately confused. "Girl, who are you? Eh? Aren't you the kind-hearted girl before?" Liang Yan had saved Lu Yuan before. In fact, Lu Yuan fell off her bicycle and almost fell into the ditch. Liang Yan saved her. Now Liang Yan said that she had just found out about Gu Hang's home, so she came to visit. Lu Yuan was a little dumbfounded, but she quickly reacted. "Look at me, you helped me before, but I didn't know where you were from. It's noon now, come to my house for dinner, and let's talk slowly." Looking at Liang Yan's humble appearance in front of her, Lu Yuan's heart was beating, but she smiled very enthusiastically and held Liang Yan's hand. "Is she here to ask for some kind of thank you fee? When the bicycle flipped over, even if I fell into the ditch, nothing would happen to me. This girl doesn't know the ways of the world and still came to my house. Is she from the southern city looking for her to repay her kindness?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 69. In this way, Liang Yan followed Lu Yuan to her house. It was a house divided by the plastics factory. Anyway, it was much better than the mud house in Liang Yan's house. At least it had complete household appliances and a TV. This was already a problem in the 1980s. It's a very wealthy family. "Girl, please sit down first and I'll pour you some water." Lu Yuan arranged Liang Yan to sit down and went to pour water for Liang Yan. Just when she saw Liang Yan saluting, she felt that this girl might have run away from home, and she didn't know where to find out her whereabouts. Found it? Although she was helped by this girl and did not fall into the stinky ditch, if this girl really came to ask her what she wanted, Lu Yuan would not be willing. After a while, the water was poured over, and Lu Yuan was still very enthusiastic. "Girl, what's your name? Where are you from? You left in a hurry last time, so I didn't have the chance to ask. What happened to packing these things now?" Lu Yuan was so caring that Liang Yan's anxious heart immediately calmed down. Before, she was afraid that she would not be welcomed when she came, but she didn't expect Lu Yuan to be such a good woman. Thinking that the other party did not live long and would die 10 years later, leaving only Ernie and a few children to defect to Gu Hang, Liang Yangzhen said that she might be able to let the other party live a few more years this time. "Auntie, I encountered some difficult things. I was going to go to Shangjing City to go to school, but I was tricked and couldn't go to school to report. As you know, there are so many bad people now. Although I went to Shangjing City, people took me there. My name has been taken, and I can't do anything about it now. I'm afraid that my family will be uncomfortable if I go home, so I thought of you and came here to seek refuge with you." Liang Yan cried aggrievedly as she spoke, and took out the admission notice to show to Lu Yuan in front of her. Lu Yuan was shocked by this. Oh my god, this is still a college student. It's just that she understands what Liang Yan said about being replaced. It's just that if you can't go to school and don't go home, why do you come to me? Is it possible to wait for me to raise it? Seeing Liang Yan's efforts to stay away from Yang Chun Shui, Lu Yuan felt unhappy and felt that the other party was being pretentious, but she still showed concern on her face. Oh my god, how could such a thing happen? You, a little girl, are in such a miserable condition that you can't go to a good school. You saved my life before. Now that you have come to join me, of course I am willing to keep you. But one of my sons has gone to serve in the military. It's not very good for you, a single girl, to live in my house. Why don't I find you a house outside? Lu Yuan thought that Liang Yan came here to express her gratitude, so she did everything impeccably. Anyway, Liang Yan was not allowed to stay here. And, it's okay. I don't mind. I know Brother Gu is a good person, and I heard that Brother Gu's son is a little kid and no one is taking care of him. If I stay here, I can help you take care of the child. Liang Yan decided to be her stepmother, thinking that Liang Ernie could be a stepmother. Why couldn't she? From now on, Gu Hang will be the commander of the army. She is the wife of the military commander. Thinking of this, Liang Yan even showed a little shyness on her face, which made Lu Yuan immediately confused. She glanced at Liang Yan warily, remembering Liang Yan's life-saving grace before. She felt that this woman was very evil. Maybe she just bumped into her to plot against her family, but she thought that such a stupid girl who wanted to go to heaven was alone. Coming to her seems to be interesting to her son. Why not take advantage of it? Soon there was a smile on his face again. That's okay, but my family's conditions are not good either. Just don't find it objectionable. After all, I think you are a non-commercial person. I'm afraid you haven't done any work. You are not like a rough guy like me. After my husband died, a man raised his son to grow up alone. Now his daughter-in-law has run away and he has to take care of his grandson. Then you will have to take more care of him in the future. After saying this, Liang Yan was so happy when she heard that she could stay, and nodded quickly. Don't worry, I can do any job. I'm not the kind of person who is pretentious. When she said this, Lu Yuan looked down on such a backstabber even more. She didn't know where she had heard about her son. This woman came to her door just a few days after her daughter-in-law ran away. She really had no shame. But I can stay at home and do some work. As for whether my son should marry or not, how can you marry such a woman of unknown origin? Both of them had smiles on their faces, but in fact they had 800 thoughts in their hearts. Of course, a person like Liang Yan would have died long ago when she met a husband like Lu Yuan. A widow can still raise a son who is a soldier. Woman, if Lu Yuan has 1,000 tricks, Liang Yan will probably find 200. The Liang family in Liangjia village was very proud. They had always been unable to hold their heads high in the village. After all, it was Liang Yan who did things unethically, so the three sons of the Liang family, Liang Dalong, Liang Erlong, and Liang Xiaolong, were also raped by other young people in the village. Look down on it, it doesn't matter that Liang Dalong is married. Not long after Liang Erlong and Liang Xiaolong got engaged, something happened with Liang Yan, and the woman came to cancel the engagement. There is no other way. They all feel that the Liang family is too calculating and not a good family. All in all, it was a good thing for Liang Yan to go to school. He thought that after 4 years of college, Liang Yan could be assigned to be a teacher, so that they could hold their heads high in the village. Mr. Liang was happy for several days. But they didn't know that Liang Yan didn't go to college at all, but went to work as a free nanny in Chunfeng City next door. Half a month later, Mr. Xie also received a letter from Shangjing City. He knew a lot of people. After that incident, some of these leaders were reinstated, and even went a step further. Mr. Xie used such a relationship just to vent his anger for his grandson. The Normal University in Shangjing City has rejected Liang Yan's admission. She is not studying in Shangjing City at all. Mr. Xie spoke, which made Xie Jianxi and second uncle Xie stunned for a moment, and then they remembered what the people in the next village said. What are the Liang family happy about? And Liang Yan didn't come back. Is it because she was embarrassed to go home after dropping out of school? Xie Jianxi guessed the reason for this, but second uncle Xie was kind-hearted. I heard that Liang Yan went to Shangjing City to study alone. She couldn't go to school and she didn't come back. It's scary for a woman to be alone outside. What if she is bullied by someone, or a human trafficker? These days, it's not safe. Even the Xie family goes to the city to sell goods with more than 10 or 20 people. If something happens, there's no place to cry. It depends on the girl's luck. Since she dares to give up Tingzhou for school, she will bear the consequences of her choice in the future. Grandpa Xie is different from his second son on this point. Xie Jianxi nodded after hearing it. They are all leaders, so they naturally know that people's choices must be followed by themselves. Whatever path they choose, it's useless for people around them to say anything. Dad, have you told Tingzhou about this? After all, it's still related to Xie Tingzhou. Grandpa Xie shook his head. Tingzhou is soft-hearted and can't stand hearing this. For this family to continue, someone must be ruthless. Jianxi, I'm getting better now. When I really get old, you will be the leader of the Xie family. Don't be soft-hearted in everything. If you are a little soft-hearted, Tingzhou will probably be killed by your soft-heartedness. Since knowing about his grandson's adventure, Grandpa Xie not only silenced his family, but also tied everyone's interests to Xie Tingzhou. Xie's family has already grown a large branch, so only Xie's family and his wife came to learn. These two people are also the most fond of Xie Tingzhou. Now, in order to live a better life, everyone in the Xie family naturally has to protect Xie Tingzhou, because Xie Tingzhou is the spirit of their Xie family and their most important existence. Even the children of the Xie family have been educated very well. After going out, they will never say a word about Xie Tingzhou. Yes, Dad, I know what you mean. Xie Jianxi nodded immediately. Knowing that his father was unhappy about his son's marriage, he bowed his head and admitted his mistake. The three pillars of the family were discussing things, and the younger generation had no chance to listen. Xie Tingzhou guessed what his grandfather had done from the envelope from Shangjing City. He remembered the big leaders who were sent to the pigsty in his memory. They were all glorious people. He heard from his grandfather that those people taught his grandfather a lot after they came. His grandfather was a good student, so he got along well with those people. Later, if his grandfather had not been paralyzed suddenly, there would actually be someone above the Xie family, not only the educated youth who went out, but also the big leaders who lived in the pigsty before, who also had a relationship with Mr. Xie. Now, those people must be the ones who are talking about Shangjing City. He also vaguely heard about Liang Yan, and Xie Tingzhou understood that his grandfather might have used some means to prevent Liang Yan from going to college. However, Liang Yan did not come back from Shangjing City and seemed to be missing. Others don't know, but he knows that Liang Yan can't go to school, and she is very proud, so she naturally doesn't want to go back to Liangjia village to embarrass herself, so the biggest possibility is to find Gu Hang's family, and then go to Gu Hang, dreaming of becoming the wife of the commander. This is what he remembers. Liang Yan didn't want to go to school for a long time, so she secretly contacted Gu Hang, and the two fell in love and got married. With the selfless contribution of the original owner, Liang Yan took good care of Gu Hang's mother and Gu Hang's previous son, and later they became a harmonious and beautiful family. This time, Xie Tingzhou thought that Liang Yan didn't have a tool like him, no money, no supplies, and she didn't tell her family alone, and directly gave it to Gu Hang's family. How could Gu Hang's widowed mother be a good person to get along with? Liang Yan will sooner or later pay the price for her dream of becoming the commander's wife. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 70. No one discussed the Liangjia village incident soon. After all, in September, the villagers of Shijia village were busy growing fungus, which was related to their livelihood for the second year, because the weather would soon turn cold. In October, the first snowflakes had already slowly fallen, and the weather suddenly turned cold. The Xie family was doing well. Everyone was busy studying and doing various trivial matters every day, and they could hardly stop. Even the children in the family had tasks every day. Liang Bailing's face soon became round and healthy. In addition, Liang Yushan and Zhang Sulan lived in the Xie family without any trouble, and they studied and worked with everyone, and they were also full of energy. It was time for dinner again. Xie Tingzhou saw the meat and cabbage and radish on the table, and immediately thought of the fear of being dominated by radish and cabbage in winter. Are you eating cabbage and radish now? That's right, winter is like this. As long as it's cold, where are the green vegetables to eat? It's good to have cabbage and radish. The Xie family has a cellar. In addition to normal food, there are cabbage, radish, and carrot stored in it for winter. What other vegetables are there? This meal is already very good for many people. Grandpa Xie heard his grandson shouting and said immediately, "If you don't want to eat cabbage and radish, ask your mother to sprout some bean sprouts tomorrow. Do you want to eat soybean sprouts or mung bean sprouts?" That's right, if it were a family outside, Xie Tingzhou would have been beaten up long ago, but now it's the Xie family who spoils him no matter what he wants. Since Xie Tingzhou got milk powder from somewhere, everyone in the family has been drinking milk powder, one person a day and one night. After drinking it, it's sweet and healthy, so everyone will meet Xie Tingzhou's special little requests immediately. It can be sprouted tonight. Tingzhou, what do you want to eat? Mom and I will make it together. Xie Chenyu also stood on the side of her brother and immediately said that she would make arrangements. The other men at the table were also used to Xie Tingzhou's unique style. For them, the meat dishes on the table alone were delicious. Cabbage stewed with meat, radish fried with meat, vermicelli, and meat soup, just these dishes, they didn't dare to think about them before. I don't want to eat bean sprouts. Xie Tingzhou shook his head, and then suddenly remembered that Shijia village finally got rich together by growing greenhouse vegetables. After all, wood-ear mushrooms are still a minority, but greenhouse vegetables can not only cultivate vegetables in winter, but also some off-season fruits in summer, such as greenhouse strawberries. If you don't eat bean sprouts, there should be some wild vegetables on our mountain. I will go to the mountain with your second brother tomorrow to get you too. There are hawthorns at home. How about you eat some hawthorns first? Xie Weiman was also thinking that his brother might have a bad appetite, thinking that eating hawthorns would make his brother feel better. They had picked a lot of hawthorns on the mountain before and put them in the cellar. Xie Tingzhou thought, am I like this in your eyes? Asking about food, is it all for eating? If Xie Tingzhou really asked this, I'm afraid the Xie family would really say it's right, that's it. In the end, Xie Tingzhou buried his head in his meal, thinking about the greenhouse in his memory, and felt that this thing was deadly simple, and he didn't even need to sign in to get it, he could get it directly. So Xie Tingzhou hurriedly finished his meal and went straight to the study. Liang Bailing was stunned for a moment, and then wanted to follow him, but she had to stay to wash the dishes, and was finally pushed by Guo Hong. Hurry up and see what this brat is doing. He has so many things to do all day. Although she said so, Guo Hong still loved the son the most in her heart. Liang Bailing followed him, and after going to the study, she saw Xie Tingzhou drawing a picture, and then she couldn't understand what it was. Half an hour later, Xie made the appearance of a greenhouse, and then directly called his grandfather and father, as well as his brothers and brothers-in-law. Look at this. This is a vegetable greenhouse. As long as we buy some materials and build a vegetable greenhouse, we can grow vegetables in winter. To be honest, this drawing is very clear. Grandpa Xie has heard that some people can grow vegetables in winter, but it gets cold early here, and even if there is sunshine, he is afraid that he can't grow vegetables. You are thinking about this while eating. Grandpa Xie really thinks his grandson is smart. Yes, if there are no vegetables, we can grow them ourselves, and if we make it, let everyone in the village do it together, so that when the new year comes, a new batch of vegetables will be ripe, and we can take them out to make another profit. Everyone can rest for a while. Xie Tingzhou said this as a matter of course. In a place like the countryside, there is nothing to do as long as the winter comes. In addition to the previous food, the things that can be planted on the ground are some sweet potatoes. If such a vegetable greenhouse can really be built, then they can promote it throughout the village, which can really make the villagers live a good life. Xie Jianxi is the leader of the village. Naturally, he hopes that the people of Shijia village will live a better life. Only by working together can the village become prosperous. Okay, then tomorrow you, your father, your brother and your brother-in-law will go to the city to see what you need and buy it directly. If you don't have enough money, come back and tell me that banks in our county are now supporting entrepreneurship and can provide loans. I will go and borrow money. Mr. Xie is also in line with social trends, so he also knows about bank loans. After all, there are many rural people who have been poor all their lives. Let alone loans, they can't even borrow a few dollars from others. Okay. I knew you were the best, Grandpa, Xie Tingzhou laughed immediately. The next day, although there was still a little snow in the sky, the ground was not wet, so it was easy to go out. This time, Xie Tingzhou didn't want to ride a bicycle. His father rode in front, and he sat in the back with his hands in Xie Jianxi's pockets to warm his hands. The other two bicycles were the two brothers of the Xie family and Xie Tingzhou's brother-in-law Xie Cheng and Liang Yushan. Except for Grandpa Xie, all the men in the family went out this time. Soon after arriving in the city, everyone went to the plastic factory according to Xie Tingzhou's request, and then bought the plastic sheet that Xie Tingzhou requested. This plastic factory still had it. In addition, some nails were needed. At that time, they planned to use wood to make a bracket. There were many things needed for manual work. In the end, it cost 2,000 yuan to buy these things. When they returned to the village after finishing the work, the whole day had already passed. It was so cold that Guo Hong quickly prepared hot dishes for the men to eat, which helped everyone recover their body temperature. They still had to work tomorrow. Everyone reviewed the knowledge at night, and then started to build the vegetable greenhouse the next morning. After saying hello to the village chief, they went directly to the vacant land behind the Xie family, which was about 2 acres. Second Uncle Xie also came to help. Some people chopped wood, some laid the foundation, and they also asked people from the village to help. After all, everyone had nothing to do in winter. They were all family members. They came to the Xie family to work and they were given meals and meat. Naturally, many people liked to come to work. In 3 days, a plastic vegetable greenhouse was built. According to Xie Tingzhou's requirements, the soil was re-added, directly on the wooden board, and then 2 kinds of vegetables were planted, one was leek, and the other was tender cabbage, which was what later generations called baby cabbage. Although we didn't know whether the vegetables could grow well, we went to the plastic shed during the day and found that it was very warm inside, which was completely different from the cold weather outside. We didn't know what was going on. The villagers came to watch the fun. After knowing that it was used to grow vegetables, they were also very curious. In this novelty, a month passed, and the 2 plots of land were already emerald green. The leeks were growing well, and the baby cabbages were also growing juicy and tender. The most important thing was that there were no insects in the greenhouse vegetables. It was probably because of winter. So when these vegetables matured, not only the Xie family was shocked, but the whole Shijia village was shocked. On the day of harvest, the villagers in the village came to watch. They were afraid that they would damage other people's things across the greenhouse. When baskets of leeks and cabbages were sent out, and then a family sent a handful, they were all shocked and excited. Mr. Xie welcomed the village chief at home. They were all descendants with blood relations, so the village chief's intention was naturally self-evident. After asking his son about his opinion, Xie and Shi decided to teach the whole village how to grow greenhouse vegetables and get rich together. They succeeded in growing 2 acres of land this time. As long as the greenhouse is built, there will be a lot of vacant land in Shijia village. Won't it be money for the new year? So the village chief Xie was very grateful to the Xie family, but after hearing the price of plastic, he felt it was very expensive and not affordable for ordinary families. It would be best to take out a loan. In the end, Mr. Xie went with the village chief. They borrowed 200,000 yuan in the name of the village, and then bought all the plastic film. After returning, they mobilized the whole village to start building greenhouses. The villagers knew that the Xie family and the village chief wanted to make them rich together. They all signed a loan agreement with the village chief and would pay the village chief back when they made money. The people in Shijia village are very hard-working. The whole village worked together to build the vegetable greenhouse in less than a week, and then started planting. Nowadays, the vegetables mature early, especially if you grow leeks. They can mature once a month, and you can plant them twice before the new year. It will still be cold during the Chinese New Year, so we can plant until the beginning of spring. Everyone is very protective of their own greenhouses. No one is doing bad things. Everyone is working hard. Xie and Shi took his sons to send the leeks and cabbages from his own field to the big restaurant in the city. Sure enough, they were sold out quickly, and the value was almost the same as meat. After all, vegetables are hard to get in winter. In this way, the sales channel was opened. As long as the villagers prepared the vegetables, the Xie family would take them to sell. From November to the end of the Chinese New Year, every villager paid off their previous debts and earned hundreds of yuan. This is really a prosperous village. Everyone has a happy smile on their face. Xie Tingzhou is also happy. Now everyone in the village has a goal. If their family members pass the exam in July this year, the villagers will not be too surprised. When they go to school in other places, there will be villagers to take care of their families. It's all very good.